A few more of the like higher end type sports cars. Awesome. Hi, my name is Kevin Wells, Competition Director of Formula Drift, and today we're answering commonly asked questions. Becoming a Formula Drift driver can be done in two ways: competing in a Pro-Am series or via petition. Petitions are results-based, so usually those are reserved for people that are out of the country. Engines are completely open as long as you're running gasoline, diesel, or an ethanol blend. We do also allow electrical and hybrid power plants, but that requires a whole nother procedure, so that you have to basically petition for that process. But otherwise, it's pure hot rodding. Everything is entirely open. No cubic inch limits, no horsepower limits, turbos, nitrous, superchargers, everything's free game. Body styles are basically unrestricted in Formula Drift. Has to be coupe, sedan, anything less than 5 doors. The only thing that's not allowed is trucks and SUVs. The minimum age to compete in FD is technically 18 years old. If you're 16, well, if you're between 16 and 18, you can actually get a special provision. Obviously, paperwork with your parents and everything else, and then you're able to compete in Formula D. Everything has to be rear-wheel drive configuration. Sequentials are not allowed in the Pro Spec class, but in Pro, everything else is open. So if you want to run a 4-speed, a sequential, you cannot run an automatic, you cannot run a dual clutch transmission. It must be something that you're physically shifting. No flappy paddle gearboxes. It must be something that's an input from the driver physically shifting. In the Pro Spec class, drivers are limited to a spec tire, and then there's a spec minimum weight to go with that for it to correspond. In the Pro class, depending on the weight of the vehicle, provides the maximum width of tire you are allowed to run to basically keep a balance. So if you have a heavier car, you can have a wider tire. If you have a lighter car, then you have to run a skinnier tire. The tires are restricted to size to basically kind of balance the performance a little bit between the cars, so you don't end up with, like in our case, like a 2,700-pound car with the driver and a 315/40/18. That car would have an advantage over a car that was a 3,300-pound car with the same size tire with a smaller tire. So it's just kind of to balance it out and make it more about driving, not necessarily car setup and width of tire, even though that's very important. In 2021, the longest competing drivers would be Dye, Ken Gucci, Chris Forsberg, and Von Gittin Jr. The championship point system has actually changed quite a bit over the years as the actual points awarded for each round or your finish has been done, and qualifying has also changed in points over the years. So in 2020, we didn't run qualifying because we were doing double header rounds. In 22, we didn't have qualifying points, and we actually adjusted the championship round points. For 2022, we're gonna leave the round points the same and then bring back another different version of qualifying points that's different than anything we've ever ran previously. Okay, so in tandem, if you finish first, just tandem, no qualifying points, you get 100 points. If you're second, you get 91 points. If you're third, you get 80 points. For 2022, in qualifying, we're gonna give points to the top 3 people. So if you're first place, you get 3 points. Second place, you get 2 points. Third place, you get 1 point. And that basically is a long drawn out process of how we got to that, but it's basically a percentage of the total to try to keep the championship race tight when we're going into our final round. In tandem competition, the judges judge lead to lead and chase to chase. And then based off the overall of how those weighed out, then they determine a winner. Qualifying judging is a little bit more complicated. They judge off of line, angle, and style. So line would be basically your position of the vehicle on the course. Angle would be the angle of your vehicle in overall and in certain zones and clipping points on the course. And then there is style, which is made up of fluidity and commitment, which the easiest way for me to explain that to people is fluidity is like the side-to-side motion of the vehicle, and the commitment is the front-to-back motion of the vehicle. So if you enter the corner, you can tell if they're on throttle or if they're braking or if they're hesitating, or fluidity if the side-to-side motion is choppy or at a very slow rate to angle. What would I like to see come to Formula Drift? Actually, I would like to see a few more of the higher end type sports cars. I think would be interesting, at least to add a little bit of a variable. But on the practical aspect, I would like to see more crossovers come in. So not quite SUVs, but the standard mid-range all-wheel drive vehicles that are becoming much more popular now. I think that would be kind of good for the sport to have something that's more relatable, but yet is available in the showroom floor right now. Yes. Is it expensive to compete in the series on the series costing you a lot of money? No. For Pro Spec, you're looking at $2,500 for the season. For Pro, I believe it's $6,400 for the season, which is actually very affordable when you get into other road racing series and stuff, especially with the media coverage and the live streaming and everything else that's involved that you get from the series. That's a very affordable cost, but everything else that's involved, the truck and the trailer and the transport and building the cars and stuff, is where you end up spending your money. So it can be expensive depending on what you're doing, but we have drivers that are doing amazing jobs by comparison on an affordable budget.